Hello, dear students. Welcome to the Bajirao IS Academy. Before starting our editorial discussion, let's play a game of interaction as we on the daily basis try to play. Okay, and definitely you will enjoy that. And once the habit of thinking gets developed, you will start suggesting ideas and providing solution to the questions. Okay, and this will be very helpful for your interview, for your mains examination, and for debate and discussion. So without delaying, let's start. Okay, so suppose you have been posted as superintendent of police, okay, in your district, and you identified certain issues specifically related to the domestic violence, okay. And what is the most pressing issue is like, as compared to all the district of your state, your district has highest number of domestic violence case, okay, as per the NCRB record, that is National Crime Record Bureau, okay. And not only that, what happened due to the domestic violence, like many women were killed, okay. And even society doesn't condemn it. You have observed it, okay, that the society that should condemn these type of incident, but they are not condemning it. Indirectly, what does it mean? That the society is promoting domestic violence, okay. So as a superintendent of police, try to identify the causes of these domestic violence in your district, okay. And not only that, try to also analyze the long term impact on the society. And here, when we talk about long term impact on the society, you have to consider maximum stakeholder. Here the importance of a stakeholder needs to be understood, okay. And when we talk about a stakeholder, it represents the people associated with this issue. The first stakeholder you should quote is the woman, okay, women who are married, because they mainly face the domestic violence. But not only that, try to include other stakeholder like the children, okay, and the impact on the education, on the literacy, okay, and how this creates barrier to the progress and women empowerment in the society. So try to identify the long-term impact by incorporating maximum stakeholder and its impact on maximum sectors, because these type of issue affects the women's empowerment, the women's participation in the society, whether it is the political system, whether it is like in the education, whether it is like employment sector, okay, all of that. So that is the bigger impact. And can you find some innovative mechanism to deal with that? Here we are talking about innovative mechanism. You can although provide solution, definitely, like awareness, all of that. You have to quote in the chat box, but try to incorporate some innovative solution. Maybe you have observed in your district, or you may have read in certain editorial, okay, or you may have like visualized in any movie to deal with that. So try to incorporate this idea in the comment box, and please do answer, because answering will explore your thinking power. And once the capability of thinking gets developed, you will start generating ideas more frequent with less time. And that's we are aiming for, that your thinking capability should enhance, should be boosted up, so that you start generating the answer. Not only that I am telling you the editorial discussion, you are just learning and listening, okay. Start generating points from your own mind that will help you to retain for the entire life, okay. That's the purpose. And there are another benefit like solving the case study, all of that, okay. So please try to participate and try to answer in the chat box, so that other peer groups should also get involved, and if there are innovative points and suggestions, they can adopt and can be utilized in the main sensor writing as well, okay. So that's the point, and let's start our editorial discussion. Hello and welcome you all Today, 23rd of November, and we will be going to discuss the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. Okay, and today we have three articles in discussion. The first article is related to Israel-Hamas deal. You know that on October 7th, the Hamas attacked Israel. Okay, about 5,000 rockets were fired from the Gaza territory, which are dominated by Hamas. But in retaliation, what Israel did, Israel also launched the attack, leading to the declaration of war to end the Hamas and their associated network. And now we are observing that 6 weeks passed. That means 42 days approx. Okay, and there is no solution to this war. And in fact, who is losing? The civilians. Okay, and the humanitarian crisis is going there. Like the Gaza became the graveyard. Over 30,000 Palestinians, 13, I am saying 13,000 Palestinians were killed. Okay, so who is responsible for that? So now there is a discussion in with the Qatar that there will be a Israel Hamas deal to release the hostages. Okay, and there will be a halt on this continuance of the war. So we will be elaborating in detail. And the second editorial is related to child abuse and animal cruelty. When we talk about child abuse, what does it mean? Violence against the child. Okay, and this is a also very serious issue in India, because we have certain data that says that there are higher incident of child abuse, and that impacts their emotional, physical, mental behaviors. Okay, and that impacts their development, their progress. Okay, so all of that. But here the main focus is that how we can identify the child abuse. Okay, and can be reported so that we can deal with this issue. So there is an important suggestion here that there is a linkage between animal cruelty and child abuse. If in a household there is an incident of animal cruelty, then there is a higher chances that the household also do the child abuse related incident. So by identifying the household who is doing animal cruelty, we can identify the incident of child abuse. So that's the point, and that will be substantiated with important data. Okay, and the third article is related to Haryana's employment reservation bill was struck down by Punjab and Haryana High Court, and we will be elaborating that why the Punjab and Haryana High Court struck this private company reservation bill. And what was this bill? In fact, it allocated 75% reservation to the resident of the Haryana, okay, in the private jobs. And the matter went to the Punjab and Haryana High Court, and now on November 17, the judgment came, which struck down this bill, saying that it is unconstitutional. So why it is unconstitutional? What is the response of Haryana government? We all will be elaborating, and what the judgment given by the court, so that it can be utilized for your answer writing. Okay, so that the important issue we will be discussing. Let's start. But before starting our editorial, we have a question for you, and the question is the PYQ, and the topic is polity section. However, the question is easy one, and you can attempt easily and try to answer this question as I am reading the question. Okay, and you can pause it and definitely answer in the chat box. It will help you to recall the facts and recall the concept. Okay, be interactive. Okay, try to put the answer, and if you have any doubt, try to raise the question. We will be answering that. Okay, so the question is, in India, separation of judiciary from the executive is enjoined by option A, preamble of the constitution; option B, directive principle of the state policy; option C, the seventh schedule; and option D, fundamental duties. This is very easy question if you have read the provision, okay? But if you not, you may find it little bit confusing, okay? That's why these chapters are very important and marks fetching. So if you have a clear idea about the chapter, whether it is the preamble, DPSP, okay, fundamental duties or fundamental right, these are very important chapter, and you can analyze from the PYQ that from the chapter the questions are repeated, okay? So try to be fully prepared from these chapters, and we will be providing you the solution in the last session of our discussion. So before that you can answer it, okay? So let's start our editorial discussion. The first article is related to GS paper 2, and we have already said that the Israel Hamas war started on October 7, and what was the aim of Israel? To end Hamas, okay, to end the influence of Hamas in Gaza. So that was the main aim of the Israel. But when we talk about the time lapse, about 42 days went on, okay, but no fulfillment of the objective. But in the another stance, what happened? The loss of lives of the Palestinians, okay, and there is a rise of sentiments which is against the Israel around the world, okay. And not only that, humanitarian crisis is going on in Gaza because the supply of food, fuel, all got restricted. Even the humanitarian aid which was given, which was supplied by the United Nations or other countries, were restricted, okay. So that's the point, and hence there is a need to have a hold in this war zone. And that's why there comes a positive news that with mediation of Qatar, the release of hostages by Hamas and release of Palestinian prisoners by Israel will be going to occur in the coming days, and along with that there will be halting of fights for 4 days. So that is important development here. And note down, you may observe that why only certain hostages is getting released, not all, because the Hamas captured about 240 Israelis, okay, and other population. So why only 50? So because this is the first step to conclude peace, okay, and if the mediation becomes successful, it will continue forward, and the halting of the war will be continued forward, okay. So little progress will help to achieve bigger result. That's why these steps are being taken. So these are welcome steps. But the question again lies here that who will address the issue of civilians, because in Gaza, you know that mass migration, forced migration occurred, death occurred, loss of habitats, loss of house infrastructure, loss, all were done, okay. So who will bear the cost? And not only that, what the article is saying that despite 6 weeks of fighting, Israel is far from achieving its own declared objective. What was their objective? To end Hamas, okay, to hinder the influence of Hamas in Gaza. So that's the point, and Israel was not able to achieve it. So this will may counterbalance the Israel's stand in the global scenario as well as in the domestic polity of Israel, okay. And we have the impact as we already discussed. But what will be the impact of this development, that is the halt of the war? So there will be a positive development, okay. And first of all, there can be the progress towards ensuring peace in West Asia. And you can remember that when we talk about West Asia, this region remain in conflict, remain in issue all the year, okay. Whether it is the Syria, whether it is the issue in Yemen, okay. So enabling peace here becomes very difficult, and if the development goes well, then definitely the peace will prevail and it will help to calm the region. Okay, and also you can observe that declaring war is an easy one, but when it comes to declare peace, it's a very difficult scenario. You can correlate with World War One, you can correlate with World War Two, you can also correlate with Russia-Ukraine war or this current issue of Israel and the Hamas. Okay, war declaration is easy, but the loss, the impact, and the delay in attaining peace and the objective becomes very very difficult. Okay, so that's the crux of this article. Hope you understood. Now we are shifting to the second editorial discussion and it is related to GS paper 2. So basically when we talk about child abuse, it represents violence against children. And when we talk about violence, don't think just only the physical violence like beating the children or like that. Okay, it is much more deeper in terms of emotional violence. Okay, in terms of the mental issues, mental pain that the children face. Remember, we are talking about children, okay, not the younger one or the adult person who are mature enough. These are children, and this can block the development and progress of their children, and it will have repercussions in the entire future of the children. It will affect their behavior, it will affect their decision making power. Okay, that's the point. And despite all of that, in India it's a grave and prevalent issue, and you can understand from the data that a 2007 study done by Ministry of Women and Child Development found that 2 out of every 3 children in India experienced physical abuse. Okay, and over half faced sexual abuse, and sexual abuse is mostly related to women. Okay, and every second child reported emotional abuse along with the girl's child neglection. Now, this is a very interesting concept in India that every second child, let's say a family, a parent have the first child, okay, and there will be a second child as well. So maybe you have observed or not that first child may get more love, more care, okay, and the second child may get the lacking of all these. Okay, this is not true for all, but you may also observe, okay, that this type of situation still exists. So that leads to neglection, and even in the patriarchal society, okay, there can be the chances of girls child neglection. Maybe the care which is given to the boys, whether it is the health need, whether it is the need of food, whether it is the nutritional need, that may not be provided to the girls. Okay, so that is a very serious issue, and the impact on the girls are also very very broader. So that's the point. Okay, and despite all the challenges, we have the information data, we have the complaints, but it remains unaddressed. But what is the bigger issue here? That what are the factors that contribute to the child abuse? And remember the case study which I discussed in the first 2-3 minutes, the incident of domestic violence. Okay, so this can also promote domestic violence as well. Okay, because when we talk about domestic violence, it doesn't only relates to the violence against the married woman, it can also be related to the child. Okay, because violence means what, there is a chances of beating or the mental torture, all of that. Okay, so when we talk about factors contributing child abuse, there are numerous factors and you can add it. Okay, so like a structural and familiar dynamics. When we talk about a structural dynamics, remember that we have a family. Okay, so the behavior of the family toward the children, the nature and the culture or the society in which the children is growing, they have the effect on the behavior of the parents, all of that. Okay, and when we talk about other factors like ineffective law enforcement along with poverty and illiteracy, because this also increases the economic burden. Okay, and if there is a female child, the burden seems to be more, because the woman need to be married, all of that. So these are the emotional feelings under the parent, and they can lead to the violence. Okay, so that's the point. And we have the cultural influence, and you have to tell me the example that how cultural influence do contribute to the child abuse. Okay, so these are the factors, but here a crucial element is missing, that is the linkages between child abuse and animal cruelty, and the main focus of this article is here. Okay, that is the linkage between them. What do you mean by the linkage? That is, if in a family, let's say, there is the incident of animal cruelty, okay, so there are more chances that in that household the child abuse incident will be more. Okay, that's the crux to try to understand, and we have the report to substantiate that. And you can see that in 1980, an a study done in England, here what they observed, like 83% of the families with animal abuse history were identified as having children at risk of abuse or neglection. Okay, what I want to convey the message. And we have the another report like 1983 New Jersey study said that 88% of the cases involved co-occurrence of animal and child abuse. And apart from that, the latest study, we have the 2019 US study, which talked about that 12.3% of the homes with interpersonal violence used animal abuse to silence the children, meaning they will try to create fear among the children by beating the animals. Okay, so that's the point, and you have to observe. And this leads to the developmental barrier. Okay, the creation of fear. Okay, and once fear is inserted, that means the person can control the children. So that's the point. And we have the positive implications if we are able to link the child abuse and the animal cruelty in identifying the cases. Okay, and how it will help, like it will help in protecting the human victims. And the most important thing, that there is a easier method to detect and report the animal cruelty in the household, okay, as compared to the child abuse. That means if we are able to identify the animal cruelty in a particular household, that means we will be more easier to find the incident or the cases to be reported with respect to the child abuse as well. Okay, so that's the crux article is talking about. And along with, we have the several positives, like the reported incident of animal cruelty can be used as circumstantial evidence in custody, okay, and child abuse hearings. But in India, we have the lackings of these linkages. Okay, like the National Crime Record Bureau does not even collect data on offenses registered and prosecuted under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. Along with, we have the anti-cruelty law, but when it comes to the implementation of law, there is a bigger challenge. Okay, and that's why the proper reporting and monitoring of the animal cruelty is not happening in India. And what is the resultant, that we are not able to decode the more reporting of the child abuse, because there is a linkages. Try to understand the article main core concept. The focus is on linking the child abuse with the animal cruelty. Okay, and that will help in identifying more cases of child abuse in India. And thus, we have the opportunity for stakeholders for the child protection and animal protection. And there is a need to collaboration so that we can collectively reduce the abuse, whether it is against the child, whether it is against the animal, because the linkages will benefit both. Okay, and we have known for protecting the animals. Okay, but we are also known for the cruelty against animals. Okay, so we need to tackle the challenges from both sides, and reporting and prosecuting animal abuse will help in saving the animals but also protecting our children from violence and securing a brighter future for the children, so that they can develop fearlessly, they can grow fearlessly. Okay, and whenever there is a fear in the child, that means their progress, their development will become a barrier. Okay, they will not able to go ahead, because how the potential is created, the potential is created when you don't have the fear. Okay, so that's the important thing you need to understand, and hope you understood this article. Now we are shifting to the third article, and it is related to GS paper 2 itself. And what is the context here? So we will be understanding the background of Haryana reservation bill in the private sector jobs. Okay, so basically, in November 2020, the Haryana government enacted Haryana State Employment of Local Candidate Act 2020. Okay, so first of all, bill was introduced and passed by the state legislature of Haryana, and then received the governor assent, and it became the act. Okay, and it started to get implemented. But again, it was challenged in the High Court of Punjab and Haryana. Okay, and why it was challenged? Because of the restrictions it is quoting for non-resident people living in Haryana. And what will be the implication? Like, they will not able to get employment in the private sector job as well. Okay, so by understanding all of the certain industry associations challenge this bill into the court, and now the judgment of Punjab and Haryana High Court came on November 17, 2023, and here they caused this act, that means they declared this act as unconstitutional. So here we need to understand why the High Court declared it unconstitutional. But let's understand what was the certain provision of this act. Like, in this act there was a mandate provision of 75% reservation for locals, okay, in private sector jobs, who is paying less than 30,000 per month. Okay, and if the company will not follow this rule, so they will be imposed fine. So that was the provision. And here try to understand the definition of local candidate. So local candidate was defined under the law as anyone domiciled in Haryana for the past 5 years. Okay, so any person who is living in Haryana for the past 5 years, so they will be called as local candidate, and hence they will get the reservation facility even in the private sector job. Here, you need to understand the private sector job. It is not the public sector. Public sector belongs to the government. Okay, and there is a provision of reservation there. But providing reservation in the private sector, so that's why the major hurdle lies here. Okay, and when we talk about why the law was challenged, because several industry associations challenge it on the ground that it violates article 19 clause 1 subclause G. And what this article says, you can observe it. This article 19 talks about six fundamental rights here. Okay, like freedom of speech and expression, association, freedom of assembly, freedom of residence, and freedom of movement, and most important, freedom of profession. That means we have the map of India, and we have the entire region as united. Okay, so we have a fundamental right that we can go to another state and we can ask for jobs. Okay, and we can also trade, and and can do business, all of that. But this act created artificial barriers based on domicile. And remember, UPSC had asked a question on domicile. Okay, and I have also discussed this question. So we have the one domicile and one citizenship policy. Okay, remember this. And also, this act infringed article 14, because article 14 talks about equality. Okay, but here this act created unequal playing field between resident and non-resident. That means creating discrimination on the ground of place of residence. Okay, and along with there is a contravention of Article 15, because Article 15 like prevent discrimination based on 5 ground. And what are these 5 ground? Kindly tell me in the comment box. And one of the ground is place of birth. Okay, so our fundamental rights itself, they are against discrimination, but this act was promoting discrimination. Okay, that's why it violated all of these articles. And along with this is contrary to the concept of common citizenship, because we have single citizenship and we have the right to move everywhere in our country. Okay, right to reside, right to assemble, right to move, all of that. So try to understand and try to elaborate in more detail that we have the single citizenship concept. Okay, and we want to promote unity and integrity. So imposing this type of restrictions, something looks against the philosophy of unity and integrity. Okay, so try to understand in that way as well. And what is the response of the state? Why? If the state know that this can be challenged, so there may be the chances that they have the sayings in the court. So basically, the Haryana government told that there was a need to protect the right to livelihood of the people domiciled in the state. Okay, and along with the government told that the government is empowered to create such reservation under Article 16 clause 4. And what does Article 16 clause 4 says? Like there is a right to equality in public employment, but it does not prevent the state from making any provision for the reservation of appointment or post in favor of any backward class of citizen. Okay, however, there is a important concern. You can observe that it is talking about backward classes of citizen. Okay, and reserving the jobs for the any non-resident, reserving the jobs for resident. So it can have both backward classes of citizen or non-backward classes of citizen. Okay, and here it is talking about citizens. Okay, not the resident. So these can be understood in different perspective. And when we talk about why the high court was this judgment, because we have identified certain important issue in the above discussion, like impairment of Article 19 clause 1 clause G, that is the right to profession. Okay, along with this point needs to be understood. Okay, that is the encroachment on parliament's legislative domain, because Article 35, and remember, Article 35 gives parliament the exclusive power to make laws related to Article 16 clause 3, Article 32 clause 3, Article 33 and 34. Okay, and hence to make laws under Article 16 clause 3 resides with whom? Parliament. But here, who interfered with this domain? A state legislature. Hence, it is like encroachment on the parliament's jurisdiction to make laws on this issue. Okay, and if this type of acts or bills gets promoted, it will bring inspector raj, that means excessive regulations on the private company, private employers. Okay, and there can be other repercussions. And try to tell me the other repercussions, like impact on ease of doing business, impact on investment. Okay, impact on the relationships between the state. Okay, all of that, try to explore that and give some suggestions in the comment box. And hence the end of the article, and now we have the questions and the solutions. So the question was, in India, separation of judiciary from the executive is enjoined by. So the actual answer is DPSP, because there is a direct provision given in this DPSP. And tell me, which is the article that talks about the separation of judiciary? Here it is only talking about the a statement comes under which philosophy. But can you tell me, like the Uniform Civil Code, we have the Article 44, okay, which is also a part of DPSP. So tell me the article name, okay. And remember that preamble, DPSP, okay, fundamental duties, fundamental rights are very, very important chapter for the prelims section, okay. So don't forget to revise more and more. And even for the prelims, remember these articles that we have discussed, like Article 35, what does it says, okay, and fundamental rights, Article 19, all of that, because frequent questions was asked with this chapter. So hope you understood the article, and if you enjoyed our lecture series, kindly do share, subscribe, and share with the friend circle. Friends, we will meet again with the next sort of discussion, and we will bring another important and interesting case study to you to solve. Okay, and please do answer in the comment box. Thank you.